Hey everyone, today we are going to talk about shame. Yes, you heard it right. Shame. Shame is a universally felt emotion similar to guilt or disgrace, but has very dangerous mental health consequences. A wide range of mental and public health issues, including self esteem, concept issues, depression, addiction, eating disorders, bullying, suicide, family violence, and sexual assaults. Brene, 2016. Shame is defined as intensely painful feeling or experience of believing we are flawed and therefore unworthy of acceptance and belonging. When someone blames us or shames us, or something happens to us which confirms all our insecurities, if our self-talk is we are stupid, we are not enough, then that's shame. But if our self-talk is that we did something wrong, I do mistakes but I'm enough, then that's guilt. These differences between words are so important to recognize. Shame is directed on self and guilt is directed on action. So when we feel guilt, there's a way to correct it. I did something wrong, so I'll stop doing it, or I'll do it the other way. But when we feel we are wrong, there's no room for improvement. We deserve this because we are flawed. And when we feel shame, we go into a flight, fight, or freeze mode. We don't think from our primary cortex, so all we do is feel more than think. We feel like we are the only ones who does these kinds of things. Shame makes us feel isolated. People use shame, especially parents or teachers, use shame to correct behaviors of their children, students, or employees. Shaming a child is never going to be productive or change their behavior. Even if it changes the behavior in short term, it's going to have long-term consequences. Check whether these sounds familiar with you. Lily is a good girl. Lily is not bad. So Lily is going to give me back my phone. Just now I arranged the room. Why can't you do anything like a girl? You are so messy. Or this. Here see, Tom is crying because that cat got hurt. Hey, do boys cry like this? Brene shares a story of a girl called Susie in the 4th grade classroom. Teacher hands back the papers. She got a single paper left in her hands. She holds it up and says, "Who didn't get a paper? Who didn't get a paper?" No hand go up. Class freezes up. I'm asking, who did not get a paper? Finally, you see a young girl raise her hand. Oh, I see. Susie did not get a paper. How many of you are surprised that Susie didn't get a paper? No response from the class. Again the teacher, this time really angry. I just asked you a question. How many of you are surprised that Susie did not get a paper? She walks over to Susie's desk. She sets the paper down. Susie, I'm gonna help you out. You don't put your name on your paper. I'll put your name on your paper there for you. STUPID, and write stupid on top of Susie's paper. The difference between humiliation and shame in this situation is, if Susie thinks, that's one horrible teacher ever, I didn't deserve to be treated like that, that's humiliation. If Susie thinks, God, I'm so stupid, why am I so stupid? That's shame. These messages children receive by feeling shame get solidified with layers of experience same like this. And when children grown up to be adults, they have their unique shame triggers. So it's very important we teach our children shame resilience. We should teach our kids that it's not okay to shame anyone. It doesn't matter what you do, no one is ever allowed to call you names. What is shame for me might not be shame to you. But as per research, there are some common shame messages and expectations which are specific to gender. For women, shame is doing it all right, doing it perfectly, taking care of everyone, and make sure no one's seeing how hard you are trying to hold everything together. According to another research by James Mahalik on society's norms and roles for women to be considered feminine, the tops were thin, nice, and modest. Stay small and quiet, use all your resources to look better. These messages women get are so conflicting. Be self-confident, but you better look exactly this way. Be honest and speak your mind, but don't ever hurt anyone's feeling. Have the courage to stand up for yourself. Don't ever disappoint anyone. Each of these messages are fairly unattainable to start with. In research for men talked about shame as shame is failure. At work, on the football field, in marriage, in bed, with money, with your children, it doesn't matter. Shame is failure. Shame happens when people think you are soft. It's degrading and shaming to be seen anything but tough. In simple words, shame for men is not to be perceived as weak. They get this message from their childhood. As we tell them, you are a boy, don't cry, or boys don't be afraid of cockroaches. What surprised me so much when listening to Brene's research about men is how we women plays a role in keeping men in that shame hole. In her research, she has heard over and over about how women are constantly criticizing men for not being open up, not being vulnerable and intimate. How women are begging to let them in and see their fears. But when men become vulnerable, women often recoil with fear, disappointment, and disgust, sending the clear message that they better man up. Why do we do this? Why can't we tolerate their being weak? Is it because if they become weak, our life will be in a mess? Our safety becomes questionable? At the same time, when women can't hold everything together, men have to put up with it. So those men who were interviewed have said, men know what women really want. They want us to pretend to be vulnerable. We get really good at pretending. Men are also human. Just pretending all their lives doesn't going to help. They are not always pillars of strength. They get frightened, they feel vulnerable, they make mistakes, they sometimes feel small and weak like scared little boys. Yet, they don't feel like they can let themselves be seen in these states of weaknesses. So they arm up. When men are in shame, they either get pissed off and rage over all they can, their employees, wife, children, etc., or they shut down emotionally and use every drop of energy to not to feel anything. But the problem is we cannot selectively numb our emotions. So when we try to stop feeling shame, so does we can't feel love. As women, we need to let the men in our lives, especially our sons, know that it's okay to let us know when they feel weak and ineffective. It's okay to cry when they've been bullied. The fighting back with rage is the weakest thing to do. Our sons should know we don't expect them to man up at 10-year-old. They need permission to explore their creativity without being judged as soft or girly. They need to learn how to open up to those who are close to them and be vulnerable. And we should teach them shame resilience. More about that in the next video. The adult men in our lives need to know that it's okay to get fired or make a bad investment or unable to pay the mortgage. They need reassurance that we still love them when they are collecting unemployment or when they can't get the mayonnaise lid off the jar. They need to be able to tell us it hurts when we reject them sexually, so we can be mindful about it rather than watching porn because there is no risk of rejection on the internet. If we want men to feel close to us and to be good partners when they grow up, they need to feel safe to unravel. They need to know we can take turns of being pillars of strength for each other. Expecting men to play the role of being always strong and signing up ourselves to play the role of doing everything and taking care of everyone perfectly and not letting anyone see us struggling is not the way to live our lives. Let's accept sometimes we have no energy to be perfect at all our roles. And let our men and boys know our love and acceptance is not conditional upon their strength. In the next video, we will talk about what are our common reactions to shame, what is shame resilience theory, and how to practice it. To understand more about this, I highly recommend you reading the book Daring Greatly by Brene. Thank you guys.